One of my more recent videos was about the death of Christianity in the West, and for whatever reason, it got a lot of interaction and shares among Muslims. And I did find it a little bit funny that the first video that I know of that I've made that gained traction with a Muslim audience was about the death of Christianity.
It's curious, don't you think?
Actually, if I think about it, it doesn't seem curious at all.
As a result of that interest, I started getting quite a few messages from Muslims asking me what I believed, and without question, they all focused in on the question of the Trinity. For most of them, the idea that God can be three persons was inseparable from polytheism, which is the idea that there are many gods. Because Islam is a monotheistic religion, which believes that there is only one God. Christians, along with Jews, are monotheists as well, but looking from the outside in at Christianity, I can understand why people get confused in light of the doctrine of the Trinity. So I got a lot of questions like, do you believe that there is one God, or do you believe that there is a Trinity? And my answer to that question is, I believe that it's both. And that's the kind of thing you'll get a lot in Catholic Christianity, as opposed to in the world, we're often offered these binary alternatives that we have to choose between. Many ideologies and belief systems insist that we choose between these kinds of false dichotomies. And what I often find in Catholicism is that we are offered this middle road. Sometimes truth is an either or, but sometimes it's also a both and. People often struggle with the idea of the Trinity because we can't quite make sense of the math. The doctrine tells us that there are three persons in one God. So how does that make sense? Well, part of me wants to answer that question by saying that it doesn't make sense, at least in the sense that we can't make sense of it. Sense. You know when you say a word too many times, and all of a sudden it starts to kind of sound weird? Sense. The first thing I would want to say about the Trinity is that this isn't something that Christians have figured out about God. According to Christianity, this is how God has revealed himself to us. And prior to that, he revealed himself to the Jewish people as I am. What I love about both of these portrayals of God is how puzzling they are. They're not the kind of thing that you would invent. If we were going to invent an image for God, we would come up with something that resembles more like a Greek God. What we find in Christianity and Judaism is the unexpected. And the unexpected is exactly what we should come to expect if we were to encounter God. Expect. It's weird. When we think about God, we need to be vigilant in reminding ourselves that God is infinitely more complex than anything that we could fit into our capacity for reason. In other words, we're not smart enough to make sense of God. Therefore, God is a mystery, and that makes perfect sense. The Trinity is one of the few descriptions of God that conveys that same sense of mystery. Some people look at the concept of the Trinity and say that that's a contradiction. You can't have three persons and one God. And my answer to that is, how do you know that? Are you so sure that you have such a complete understanding of what defines the scope of a person that you can definitively say that three cannot share the same essential divine substance while still being distinct as persons? I wouldn't be so bold to make that claim, especially bearing in mind that we're dealing with a God who has unlimited power. Are you so sure that he couldn't make that work? The other reason I think the Trinity is such a compelling portrait of God is because Christians as well as non-Christians are so fond of repeating the phrase that God is love. Now, I'm not totally sure how most people define love, but for Christians, love means an outward disposition that aims to achieve the good of another. So that means that no matter who you are or what you've done, I want the best for you. And if I can, I'll do whatever I can to realize that for you. So love in this sense is always focused on someone else. When we say that God is love, we're not saying that God has love or the potential love, but that God is love. His energy and activity is constantly pouring out of himself towards another in the pursuit of their well-being. If we want to believe that God is love, then we're left with a big question. Because Before God created the universe and all the creatures that inhabit it, how could it have been said that God is love? How was this dynamic energy of love exchanged and received unless there has always been and always will be a multiplicity of persons to exchange it? The Trinity as a concept or a description of God is the only thing that I know of that expresses this exact eternal exchange of love. The Father begets the Son and loves him. The Son reciprocates that love, and they exchange this love in the dynamic of the Holy Spirit. The Trinity, to my knowledge, is the only satisfying option that offers a glimpse of a God who is love. Thank you guys for watching that. If you enjoyed that, then please like it and share it and subscribe and come follow along for more content. And if you want to support the making of these videos, then please consider supporting the business that makes them possible. Holdsworth Design is a digital marketing and communications company that specializes in web design, print design, branding, videography, and all that kind of stuff. So, and this is with a special emphasis on churches and ministries as well. So if you know somebody that needs those services, then please consider passing that along to them, and check out the website, which is www.holdsworthdesign.com.